hand over to you.
Thank you so much, Excellency. I'm absolutely delighted to be here. Bangalore and the university and all that seems so far away and so long ago, especially when I was, disconnected from everything while in Brussels since March last year. So the great relief was when India, UK decided to create a bubble and be able to have people moving back and forth. And I think that's one of the examples of our great cooperation. I would start by thanking you all, Right Honorable Lord Taylor, Lord Howell of Guildford, Dr. Ilma Bogdan, Mr. Friedman. This is an opportunity that I very much relish of meeting you and the distinguished participants in today's webinar. I've been hearing of this, the Conservative Foreign and Commonwealth Council, and I thank Lord Rami Ranger for inviting me. Today, he was one of the first eminent British peers that I had met soon after my arrival here in London. I had learned of his vital role in bringing India and its vast and brilliant diaspora closer to the Conservative Party. And in recent years, I understand that there is a discernible proportion of the Indian diaspora that has increasingly identified with the Conservative Party. And obviously, this speaks volumes of the party, its India policy, efforts of its members to disseminate information and involve the diaspora as much as possible in taking the India-UK relationship into a new era. So I thank you all very much for this because as envoy of my country to the United Kingdom, for me, it is very clear that this is my main function and my duty to build the best of relations between India and the UK. And in that process, in order to do that, I have been reaching out in some way every day to government, political leaders, personalities, political parties across the board, business leaders, traders, investors, scientists, educationists, Indian community a lot these days, and their representatives, and other citizens of the United Kingdom. All those who are relevant to work with in building on the excellent partnerships that exist, that have been created over the decades by the living bridge between India and the UK, which is one of the most important facets of our relationship, built on our shared history and values. And values, I must underline, and I want to take a moment to underline this, that we are both functioning democracies, oldest and longest committed to multilateralism, rules-based international order, rules-based international trade with WTO at its core. We're open and pluralistic societies. We embrace people of all races, and our constitutions guarantee our citizens all the basic fundamental rights. And we are happy to ensure that these are protected by independent democratic institutions. Till only a year ago, we had taken all these for granted. And the reason why I've listed them all out is that I want to remind ourselves that today, in this very changed global scenario, with territorial expansionism and economic assertiveness on the rise, and a whole lot of new equations and balances and imbalances and disruptors that we have seen in the last few months. All these values are in question, often undermined, and there are a lot of like-minded countries that are working hard to make sure that these are safeguarded. It is necessary, I believe, and India believes, for democratic societies to work hard together to safeguard these values and to ensure that global governance remains transparent, democratic, and effective for the good of the world and for the realization of common goals of humanity. Therefore, we believe that there is a need to relook at the workings and structures of the global governance institutions, including the United Nations, created post World War II, as we know, and it's necessary to reform these in sync with contemporary geopolitical realities. Since January this year, India has been serving as non-permanent member of the UNSC. Our work has been guided by our Prime Minister's call. Our Prime Minister, Right Honorable Shri Narendra Modi, had called for reformed multilateralism and a dynamic 5-point policy of respect, dialogue, cooperation, peace, and creating conditions for prosperity. So, with this approach, India seeks to contribute to a reformed multilateral system. And we, of course, have played a leading role in non-proliferation, disarmament, and peacekeeping, and we have been a net provider to international peace and security in globally and in our region. And we see our term in the UNSC as an opportunity for India and the UK, which is a permanent member, to work together for reform of international organizations and for an international effort to address the scourge of terrorism. We both believe that terrorism is the biggest security challenge facing the international community today, and it's a threat to open and pluralistic societies such as ours. But India has been a victim of state sponsored cross border terrorism for the last 4 decades. And we remain steadfast as ever in making sure that not only we, but like minded countries in the world, the international community addresses it in partnership and in collaboration in all international organizations, including the UNSC. And on the issue of reform of the UNSC, the UK has been supportive of India's aspiration to be a permanent member of the Security Council. And they agree that it is but natural for a country representing 1/6 of humanity to be a part of the UNSC. So we are looking forward to working closely with the UK in the UNSC, of course. The other global danger that the world faces in the realm of climate change, and here the UK is playing a leading role this year when it hosts COP26. Here too, it is necessary for India to contribute, and India can bring a lot to the table. We all feel that it is necessary to heed the scientists in time. More on this, but there's a lot to be shared on India's contribution. But let me say in a very short way that India's nationally determined goals, they include sustainable lifestyles. They are compatible with the 2-degree centigrade target. With these, we expect not only to meet Paris Agreement targets, but to exceed them. And India at present is the only country on track among the G20 nations to actually meet its climate change mitigation commitments. For India, climate change is all encompassing. It's not only about mitigation, but it also emphasizes the importance of climate adaptation and loss and damage and means of implementation, including finance, technology, capacity building, and support in these areas from developed countries to developing countries. We have been saying this in every fora, that the developing countries need to have the wherewithal in terms of finance and technology and capacity to be able to actually address the climate change goals. And COP26 in the UK is happening at a crucial time, which is also the first year of implementation of the Paris Agreement. So we will be bringing a lot for the success of UK in this important meeting. We have our approach to climate change negotiations, which are also in sync with the UK's approach. And we, of course, to put in one sentence, we feel that it should be a comprehensive approach that includes education, values, and lifestyles, as well as developmental philosophy. And this has been brought out in detail by our Prime Minister at the 2019 Climate Action Summit. That is one set of the pillars that we are working on. But we do feel that as we relate to climate change issues, the goals of peace and security, gender, human rights, trade and connectivity, and taxing carbon and new response measures, we also want to ensure that we're not building a parallel track of negotiations, and making sure that we work with like-minded countries like the UK. The UK has become an important partner in our international solar alliance, and also our as a member of the Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure. So these are the two areas where we feel that not only in the G20 bilaterally, the UK and India will work for the goals, the common goals in addressing the adverse impact of climate change. Bilaterally, our countries share a robust partnership encompassing almost every stream of and sphere of human activity. Our prime ministers have met and spoken over the last months, decided on a new way forward for India-UK relations, a new chapter. Of course, this was in one of their first conversations setting out a new way forward was in March 2020, when it was known that we were in a pandemic, and the two prime ministers at that time, you had just had Brexit, and there was immediately a realization that there had to be a rebooting and a reprioritization of the key areas of focus. So they decided on, they identified a few areas where India and the UK have the kind of complementarities that would help us both to bring solutions in a world that was impacted by the COVID pandemic. So so there was Britain, newly independent in terms of its foreign policy. And since then, since the two prime ministers identified the priority areas of focus, both our foreign office have been working together to translate their vision into a reality. Our foreign ministers, Dr. Jaishankar and Right Honorable Dominic Raab, Foreign Secretary of the UK, they are leading the dialogue. And we are fortunate to have in Honorable Minister of State, Lord Tariq Ahmed, a driving force of this relationship. His personal contribution to our success has been invaluable, and he has been really leading from the front the India-UK, the dialogues. So we are presently working on a roadmap that we developed based on the priorities and the sectors that our two countries identified. The UK's integrated review has set out UK's priorities, and we see the tilt towards the Indo-Pacific. We look forward to engaging with the UK in every way for our mutual benefit and for peace in our region. Since I arrived last year, several good meetings have been held between the political leadership. There is a lot of traction and interest for a very robust partnership in life sciences, ICT, healthcare, food and drink, and of course, services. We have had since July last year very regular meetings and consultations between our two trade ministers, Secretary of State Madam Elizabeth Truss and Commerce and Industries Minister of India Mr. Piyush Goyal. They have been setting the targets, and these have been followed up with a very close monitoring system by our Ministers of State for Trade, Mr. Hardeep Puri and Mr. Ranil Jayawardene. And then the structure of the working groups, the joint working groups to work out technically which are the areas and where are the low hanging fruits, where can we have an early harvest agreement, what are the areas that we take forward towards a free trade agreement eventually. But as we all know, these are step-by-step negotiations. The pre-negotiations, then the negotiations itself, and then the interim agreement towards a free trade agreement. But the good thing is that in the last 6 months, there has been a lot of good work done, and uh, there's not been much slipping of the targets and the timelines. So we're all extremely optimistic. On the investment side, India has become the second largest investor in the UK. And India's goal of self-reliance is not only to build capacities and capabilities within our country, but also to be able to better contribute to global supply chains. So in this context, the win-win motto has been design in the UK, make in India, and sell to the world. And this has inspired considerable interest and enthusiastic response from UK, from trade ministers and also defense ministers, and of course the health sector. So now private investment is permitted in India's space sector as well, which is committed to the peaceful use of space. And we value our partnership with the UK, which is a leader in commercial projects in this field. And Bharti Global have shown the way, that's in partnering with UK partners to acquire OneWeb. This was a few months ago. So trade flows with with everything that's going on in both directions, trade flows have reached about 24 billion in 2019, which is a 10% growth over the previous year. It's a good thing that it's a good trend that UK investors see India's market not only growing but also easier to navigate. And interestingly, UK is the sixth largest inward investor in India, with a cumulative equity investment of about 28 billion US dollars, equivalent in pounds. Indian investors have not been deterred by Brexit uncertainties, and they have invested in about 120 good projects here, creating almost 6,000 new jobs. And they, in 2019, became the second largest source of foreign direct investment in the UK after the US. And they have actually increased their investment after the referendum vote for exiting the EU. I've not yet mentioned that there are over 65,000 companies owned by Indian diaspora in the UK. Of these 65,000 companies, top 654 have a turnover of more than 100,000 pounds. And these have created, this is 100,000 pounds a year, and these have created over 174,000 jobs. It would not be an exaggeration to say that the total job creation by Indian companies and diaspora companies, according to our calculation, is 400,000. And about 850 Indian companies operate in the UK, with combined revenues of about 41 billion pounds. And they pay about 461 million pounds in corporation tax and employ about 110,000 800 people. So the Indian diaspora owned companies, according to Grant Thornton and our Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industry reports, all there is a lot of energy in both directions. So with all their contribution, they are net contributors, and we feel that that is a very, very good sign. The statistics seems to indicate that we have been successful partners with complementary economies, and there are many possibilities for cooperation between the two of us. I would say sky is the limit from what I have been seeing in my interactions with the chambers over the last 8 months in the regions across the UK. An interesting finding during a webinar hosted by the British High Commission maybe a month ago, in which I had participated, was that a poll was taken within the web audience attending. And one of the questions asked was, what should India and UK focus on in their agenda? And the majority voted for manufacturing together. Um, the at the same time, I must say that this is already happening because India invites and welcomes partners in manufacturing quality products under the Make in India program. And UK companies with their technology, design, and innovation can look towards India for affordable manufacturing solutions. So that's why it's a complementary and win-win partnership. And we hope to see not only buying and selling or in manufacturing, but also in the other sectors of fintech. Our IT leaders are looking forward to making investments and acquisitions as well. So of course, healthcare, I just want to quickly mention in that we are, India being the largest provider of drugs globally, and of course our pharmaceutical sector is very much in the news these days, providing about 65% of the world's vaccines. But this is what I meant when I said that in the worst days of the pandemic, India and the UK worked together to bring solutions. And this was in the form of the Oxford AstraZeneca Serum Institute collaboration. And that is what is giving a lot of hope to both our countries today as our numbers go up and down in successive waves. So that brings me to the people to people level. And there's much that we are doing together. Our parliamentary exchanges, I feel, excellencies, are very, very important to enhance mutual understanding between our people and the representatives of our people. And in fact, our Speaker of our Parliament has expressed his support for an early visit of a UK parliamentary delegation to India. And we look forward to coordinating such visits as soon as we have post-COVID normalcy. And also here in London, we hope to bring in our parliamentarians, but also we at the High Commission look forward to being able to meet you all in person and have a lot of interaction with the Conservative Friends of India and the Commonwealth, the organization. And all this augurs well for closer engagement between the representatives of our people. And we, of course, value this opportunity, to talk about, all the things on our rich agenda. And we at the High Commission of India are committed to making a success of the new opportunities today. And I do believe that we can, and therefore we must. And I look forward to working with you all to further build the India-UK relationship. I also look forward to hearing from you when we meet or on every opportunity on making this forum more relevant, more effective, making this a regular feature. And my officers at the High Commission and our consulates general in Edinburgh and in Birmingham stand ready to facilitate this proactively. So I would stop here with my presentation of some aspects of the relationship and look forward to the questions that you would like to put to me.
Well, thank you very much, Your Excellency. It's been a very comprehensive tour d'horizon of the relationship between our two countries.
What time do you want supper?
I'm
going to have it now.
High Commission can play in furthering this. I don't see David Howell on the screen at the moment. And so I'll go straight to Dr. Ilma Bogdan, who I know wants to say a few things before, perhaps after Ilma has finished Peter, you could take over the Q&A. Thank you.